The summer storm rolled in without warning, the kind that turns a lazy afternoon dark in minutes. Richard Palmer was driving home from his construction site when the rain hit a thick sheets that made the road shimmer like a river. He was tired. 53 years of living will do that to you, especially when you're raising a teenage daughter on your own. His hands, calloused and strong, gripped the steering wheel as he squinted through the windshield. That's when he saw her, a young woman, maybe 25, sitting in a wheelchair right there on the shoulder of the county road. Her bright blue shirt was soaked through, her blonde hair plastered to her face. She wasn't crying out or waving for help. She just sat there, head down, as if she'd given up. Richard's foot hit the brake before his mind even caught up. He pulled over, threw the truck in park, and stepped out into the downpour. Miss, are you all right?" She looked up slowly, and Richard's heart clenched. Her eyes were red from crying, her face pale with exhaustion. She tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. I'm sorry. I didn't know where else to go." Richard knelt down beside the wheelchair, rain streaming down his face. Up close, he could see she was shivering, her hands trembling as they gripped the armrests. "Don't apologize. Let's get you somewhere dry. Can I help you into my truck?" She nodded, and Richard noticed how light she was as he carefully lifted her. Her legs hung limp as she couldn't walk. He settled her in the passenger seat, then folded the wheelchair and hoisted it into the truck bed. Within moments, they were back on the road, the heater blasting warm air. "I'm Richard," he said gently. "What's your name?" "Sarah," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain hammering the roof. "Well, Sarah, you're safe now. We'll figure everything out." At home, Richard's daughter Emma met them out the door. She was 16, with her mother's kind eyes and her father's practical nature. When she saw Sarah, soaked and shaking, she didn't ask questions. She just grabbed towels and helped her father get their unexpected guest inside. Richard carried Sarah to the guest room while Emma brought dry clothes, one of her own oversized sweatshirts and soft pajama pants. As the woman disappeared into the room, Richard stood in the hallway, listening to Emma's gentle voice offering comfort. His daughter had grown up without a mother for the past 8 years, and somehow she'd learned compassion all on her own. An hour later, they sat around the kitchen table. Sarah wore Emma's clothes, her hair wrapped in a towel. She held a mug of hot tea between her palms, finally warm enough to stop shivering. Richard made grilled cheese sandwiches, a simple food, the kind his own mother used to make when comfort was needed more than fancy cooking. "You don't have to tell us anything you don't want to," Richard said, sliding a plate toward Sarah. "But if you want to talk, we're listening." Sarah took a small bite, then set the sandwich down. Her hands trembled again, but this time not from cold. "I was left there," she said quietly, "by my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend now, I guess." Emma reached across the table and gently squeezed Sarah's hand. "We'd been together for 3 years," Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "The accident happened 6 months ago. A drunk driver hit me while I was crossing the street. The doctors said I might walk again someday with therapy, but it would take time, money, lots of both." She paused, staring into her tea. "Marcusa, that was his name. He said he'd be there through it all. But today, we were driving to what I thought was a therapy appointment. Instead, he pulled over on that road and told me he couldn't do this anymore, that he never signed up to be a caretaker. He just left me there, took my phone so I couldn't call anyone, said I needed to learn to handle things on my own." Richard felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "That's not a man. A real man doesn't abandon someone when life gets hard." "Dad's right," Emma added. "That's just cruel." Sarah looked up, tears streaming down her face now. "I don't have anywhere to go. My parents passed away 2 years ago in a car accident. I have an aunt in Maine, but we haven't spoken in years. Marcus was all I had." Richard stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the rain still falling. He thought about his late wife, Margaret, who died of cancer when Emma was just 8. He remembered sitting by her hospital bed, holding her hand through every treatment, every setback. That's what love meant. That's what commitment looked like. He turned back to Sarah. "You'll stay here for as long as you need." "I can't." Sarah started to protest. "Yes, you can," Emma interrupted, smiling. "We have the room, and honestly, it'll be nice having another woman in the house." Dad tries, but his idea of decorating is sports memorabilia and old tools. Richard chuckled. She's not wrong. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Sarah became part of their small family. Richard built a ramp for the front porch, working after his construction shifts with Emma handing him tools. They converted the guest room into a proper space for her, with a lower bed and grab bars in the attached bathroom. Sarah insisted on contributing. She'd been a graphic designer before the accident, and she still had her skills. She started working from the house, taking freelance jobs online. She'd slip money for groceries into Richard's work jacket, leave notes of gratitude on the kitchen counter. Emma and Sarah became close. On evenings when Richard worked late, they'd cook dinner together, Emma rolling Sarah around the kitchen as they laughed and listened to music. Sarah helped Emma with her college applications, reviewing essays and offering advice about life beyond high school. One Saturday morning, about 2 months after that rainy day, Richard received a phone call. When he hung up, his face had gone pale. "Everything okay, Dad?" Emma asked. Richard sat down heavily at the kitchen table where Sarah was working on her laptop. "That was Marcus," he said. "Sarah's ex." Sarah's face drained of color. "What did he want?" "He wants to talk to you. Says he made a mistake. He's outside right now, actually, in the driveway." Sarah's hands started shaking. Emma moved to stand behind her chair protectively. Richard looked at Sarah carefully. "Do you want to see him? It's completely your choice. I can send him away right now if you want." Sarah took a deep breath. I need to face him. I need to hear what he has to say." They went outside together, Richard pushing Sarah's wheelchair, Emma by her side. Marcus stood by a red sedan, wearing expensive clothes and an uncertain expression. He looked nervous, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "Sarah," he started, his voice urgent, "I'm so sorry. I was scared and stupid, and I made the worst mistake of my life. Please, come back. I'll do better. I'll be there for you like I should have been." Richard felt Sarah tense under his hands on the wheelchair. He wanted to protect her, to send this man away, but he stayed quiet. This was her decision. Sarah looked at Marcus for a long moment. Then she looked back at the house, at the ramp Richard had built, at Emma standing fiercely loyal beside her, at the home where she'd found not just shelter but love. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady and clear, "you didn't leave me on that road. You freed me. You showed me who you really were, and in doing so, you led me to people who showed me what real kindness looks like, what real family means." She reached up and took Emma's hand. "I have a home now, with people who chose to love me at my worst, not people who abandoned me because things got hard. So thank you for that gift, even if you didn't mean to give it." Marcus's face crumbled. He tried to speak, but Sarah continued, "I hope you become a better person someday, but I won't be there to see it. Goodbye, Marcus." Richard turned the wheelchair around, and the three of them went back inside. Through the window, they watched Marcus stand there for a few more minutes before finally driving away. That evening, as they sat on the porch watching fireflies dance in the summer twilight, Sarah turned to Richard. "Why did you stop that day? Most people would have just driven by." Richard was quiet for a moment, remembering, "My Margaret, Emma's mum, she used to say that we're all just walking each other home. Sometimes the walk is easy, sometimes it's through a storm, but we're not meant to do it alone." He smiled. "When I saw you there in the rain, I just thought as someone needs help walking home today. Turns out, you helped me and Emma find our way too." Sarah wiped away a tear. "You saved my life that day." "No," Richard said gently. "We just reminded you that it was worth saving. You did the rest yourself." A year later, Sarah walked down the aisle at Emma's high school graduation, not in a wheelchair, but on her own 2 feet, using a cane for support. The therapy had worked, slow and painful but successful. Richard stood beside her, offering his arm just in case, but she made it on her own. After the ceremony, as they celebrated at the house that was now truly Sarah's home, Richard received a letter. Inside was a check for $10,000 and a note, "For the man who taught me what true kindness looks like. Use this to take your family on that vacation you've been putting off. You all deserve it. With gratitude, Sarah's Aunt Martha in Maine. P.S. thank you for being there when I couldn't be." Richard looked at Sarah, who was laughing with Emma about something, her face bright with joy. She caught his eye and smiled. "Sometimes," he thought, "the best thing you can do is simply stop when someone needs help. You never know how that one moment of kindness might change everything for them, and for you." The rain had stopped long ago, but the growth it brought continued to bloom.